we haven't even gotten into the clip yet, and I'm getting fired up thinking about this. That's the phrase that we always use, right? Speak truth to power.
Yes.
That means you have to properly identify who has power.
Yes.
Your cousin, your dumb uncle, your in-laws that have the wrong opinions, they don't have the power. They're being manipulated by the people with the power.
Absolutely. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Ask the Next Question. I'm Joshua.
I'm Colton.
Welcome back, guys, man. Thank you for joining us again for episode number 9. We're super excited to be with you.
Incredible.
If you haven't seen, our YouTube channel has grown a lot over the past week. Even we've tripled our numbers of subscribers. So shout out to everybody that's tuned in and tapped in and subscribed with us recently. We look forward to this conversation and look forward to what we have for you guys. So we got an interesting show for you tonight, but first, before we get into it, how's your week been, bro?
Bro, you just said it, bro. We tripled our subscriber count from this time last week to today.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Got a lot of people viewing some of our podcast clips, so shout out to y'all for that.
That's crazy. And if you're a first time watcher, I mean, like, we've been doing this for months and we had 300 subscribers. So we tripled. We're about to cross over 1,000 subscribers.
Hopefully in the next couple of days.
And I just want to say, like, man, it's so humbling, honestly, because I'm so stingy with my YouTube
Absolutely,
subs.
same.
You know what I mean? Like, I got a lot of people, I'm like, I want to see more of this, but I don't want to subscribe. I just hope the algorithm keeps...
The bar is high.
The bar is high.
Yeah,
and so
we recognize that.
Man, like, thank you so much for subscribing to our channel. And Josh and I are having so much fun doing this. So it's just really, it's cool. So yeah, it's been a good week, honestly.
Great week.
Yeah.
It's been a little bit warmer here in Chicago.
Yeah.
We've been away for a couple weeks with the holidays and everything, but I don't know, real quick, you want to say how your holidays were?
Oh, dude, I did a 12-hour road trip to Eastern Tennessee from Chicago with my 4-year-old and 2-year-old by myself. My wife was working, so she had to fly down and meet us there. It was not hard. I don't know what the hell is wrong with some of you guys. Like, so many people are like, man, like women especially, like, you took them by yourself. And I felt bad. Like, I'm not trying to make them look bad, like make their husbands look bad or nothing, but they're like, dude, my husband won't even take the kids to the grocery store. I'm like,
come on, man.
Y'all need to have a talk.
I can't talk because I don't have kids, but
I feel like you would be fine, bro. Honestly, it's like in the head and it's how you prepare.
Sure.
So we don't do a lot of screen time already. So my kids, you know, a little bit of, you know, iPad, and that's the last resort. They did less than an hour. We did the road trip split across 2 days. They did an hour max both days on the iPad.
Okay.
They got a little Yodo player that plays some little audio books. We sing we play music. We did go to McDonald's a few times, which I'm sorry, I did not know McDonald's was on the BDS list.
I didn't either.
I did not know.
On your story.
And I know I should have known because they have been since 2023.
I haven't been since probably 2023.
You know, I have my good friend Tarek Rauf, you know, called me out. He's like, "Yo, what are you doing going to McDonald's?" And really, he called me up.
Sure.
Not call me out.
That's a good way of putting it.
Right, you know, because he's like, hey, like, you say you're all these things. He's like, I'm surprised to see this. Like, what's up? And man, like, that's what I want out of a friend personally.
Sure. Yeah, not in a way that's condemning or shaming, but just like, hey, I'm bringing this to your attention. And, you know.
I mean, imagine he could have made a reel and try to come at me.
Oh,
like,
my God.
Like, here's this guy, Colton Barnaby, says he's about blah, 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 blah. But instead, he just shot me a DM.
That's a real friend. Yeah. Right? Not an internet friend, not a person that's out to make content out of everything that's going on in the world. So.
And we've only met on Instagram.
Oh,
like,
okay.
Yeah, we don't know each other. We've never met IRL.
He's a real one.
So he's a good friend, but he's also a real one, just like a real person.
Yes.
Unlike other dudes that made videos about me calling me gay and Satan this week.
We suck. Maybe we can get into that a little later, because I got some things to say about that too.
Yeah, dude. When somebody with 6 million subscribers makes a video about you calling you the devil, I mean, it's like, damn.
That's a little much. But holiday stuff for me was good. I was in Miami for a little bit.
Oh, you had an amazing...
I was in Atlanta. It was probably the most I've ever done over the holidays, but it was great. Great to get away. Great to get a little bit of warm weather. Atlanta wasn't super warm.
You went to an NBA game in Atlanta?
Went to the Hawks.
Did you go to a game in Miami too?
I went to the Miami game.
Dang, bro.
Yeah. So it was good. I mean, I love basketball. To know me, to knows I love the NBA. So it's nice to see some basketball in person. Hoping to I'm going to a Bulls game in a couple days.
Yeah.
So
are you really?
Get my sports in.
Wow, son.
Yeah.
So and see, what's cool about your trip? You got to see family and friends.
Exactly.
We did that last year. We did family, and then we went to Tulsa to visit a bunch of friends.
Yes.
This year we didn't have time to do that, but that's always the best when you can get both.
Absolutely, man. It was great. I needed a little mental reset, emotional reset, and I definitely needed it after the week that we've had here back in the real world.
It's been crazy, bro. And I know you're about to intro our next clip. And, you know, man, you said something earlier. We were talking about you went to the DSA event on. Do you want to talk about that?
Sure.
Okay. So you went to the DSA event on a class event that they had, and they were talking about what an ultra leftist is, and that it's like basically someone who very purity testing, very like, oh man, I'm not going to ever talk to my family who are Trump supporters again. When you're talking about that, was really making me think about this trip I went on, because when we go into this clip to talk about all the stuff that happened this week, it's been a crazy week in politics. Bro, like almost every family member I have and so many of my friends are MAGA people, right-wing people. And it's not always all the way, although I did find a fake $100 bill with Trump on it.
You sent me that? Did you take it?
No. Bro, it looked real, didn't it? It's like, wait, it looked way too real. I was like, this is not cool.
It's probably going to happen in the next 3 years.
I'm going to throw the picture on the screen up while we talk about it so you guys can see. But like, you know, it's crazy because, bro, like we have to find a way as a people to speak truth to power, bro. We haven't even gotten into the clip yet, and I'm getting fired up thinking about this. That's the phrase that we always use, right? Speak truth to power.
Yes.
That means you have to properly identify who has power.
Yes.
Your cousin, your dumb uncle, your in-laws that have the wrong opinions, they don't have the power. They're being manipulated by the people with the power.
Absolutely.
And so we need to be able to speak truth to power while being able to bring other people home.
Yes.
And you may never pull them along the way, but you don't know, like you might have that most of your family members, maybe they're not ever going to come and join our cause as leftists, but like you might have one cousin on the margins listening.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Might have one uncle on the margins listening, somebody, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And just speaking in a way that doesn't talk down to somebody, like selling life insurance. I did that for 12 years. If you come across somebody, they don't have life insurance, you have to like very carefully address that. Imagine I go like this, bro, you got a wife and kids, you don't have any life insurance? Are you dumb?
Peace.
Right? Like, are you dumb?
You're not making no sales that way.
Yeah. But there is a way I can speak truth to the reality of it by just changing my tone. Like if instead I go, oh, interesting. So you don't have any life insurance at all?
Yes.
No, I don't have any. Okay. Normally when I meet somebody like you who doesn't have any protection, it's usually one of three reasons. One, you know you need it, but you just haven't gotten around to it yet because there's like a million things in life to get around to. Two, you knew you need it. Maybe you're worried about the cost. You got a quote and it was really expensive before. And then three, and I know this isn't you, but some people just don't care what happens to their families when they die. I know that's not you. So which are the first two? And you might go, oh, that's manipulative. No, it's like providing proper framing that allows the person
to see
exactly what is at stake without feeling like you are beating them up for not having seen it before. And that's how we have to be able to talk to people.
It's a shift in perspective that ultimately you're trying to align their values with what you're selling them or what you're providing for them. It's an opportunity. Right. And you don't have to do it in a manipulative fashion to get your point across. But I think a lot of folks, and I can fall into this, especially given like the frustrating nature of what's happening in our society, is that it makes you feel better if you can look at somebody who's in that same position and say, what are you doing? If you would change your mind, we wouldn't be in this situation. But ultimately, that's not going to be productive at the end of the day. Like you may get something off your chest, right? But you have to be able to regulate and have the self-awareness to realize, like, actually, the problem is that this person is in a position where they don't understand what the problem is. I may understand what the problem is, but I didn't always have the perspective that I have. What can I do to communicate to this person in such a way that will give them the opportunity to see what I see?
That's like, everything, bro. That's it. Hey, take the plank out your own eye before you point out the speck in your brother's.
Exactly.
So it's funny how much of like scripture is like, you know, I know so many leftists, they're so skeptical of all things religion, but it's like, man, there's a lot of lessons there. There's wisdom in it. There's a lot of wisdom there that will really help a lot of people. Like, I think immediately about Moses, you know what I mean? Like, Moses was ready to, like, he was ready to lose his entire status within the kingdom of heaven, or whatever you want to call it, in order to be there for the other people. He said, Lord, blot my name out of the Lamb's book of life to save them. I always remember thinking about that. Like, but most leftists, most Christians, most insert whatever ideology you're supporting, are more interested, like, is this what you were saying, in their personal piety.
Yes.
In a demonstration of, look how great I am, and look how shitty you are. Because, man, if I can convince myself that you're the one that's shitty, and then I don't have to feel as bad for the way I felt.
Yeah, and I had to check myself, because I was having debates with people a few months ago when we started this podcast about Charlie Kirk on Facebook, which I never get on, right? But there were some people that I've talked to in the past that were posting about how sad and mournful they were about Charlie Kirk's death and how he was a martyr for the faith. We talked about this in our first episode. And I was like, do you understand how silent I see that you've been over the course of what's going on in Israel and Palestine, but you have something to say about Charlie Kirk? And so now that this is happening,
that's easy to get mad about.
I want to go back over there and say, yo, you ain't got nothing to say about what happened now? But ultimately I held back, because I say, hey, they're not going to be persuaded by that. And especially if I don't have an ongoing relationship with them in the present, it doesn't matter what I say now. They're not going to hear it, and it's a lost cause.
No, it's
so
true.
I just was like, hey, I'm just not going to say shit.
Bro, but we don't talk about very often anymore is revolutionary discipline. And this is actually a big thing a lot of theorists talk about, a lot of revolutionaries talk about. You have to have revolutionary discipline. It's not easier to get on and talk to them in a way that can bring them in. It's easier to just get in and talk out of our emotions. I do it all the fucking time.
Absolutely.
You know, but it's like, the hard thing to do is to slow down and figure out, how do I speak strategically?
Yeah.
How do I communicate to this person strategically?
And taking the emotions that you feel in a moment. Because I remember I had a mentor, and I was going to say this earlier, but I'll say it now, that back 6 years ago almost now, in the middle of 2020, when there was the Ahmaud Arbery case and George Floyd, right? One of my mentors, he was talking to me about how he dealt with his anger, right? And helping me understand that a lot of times in evangelical spaces, and this is a black leader, that anger is seen as like a negative emotion to get past and get through and just like discard, and make sure that you don't be angry, but don't sin, right? There was this extreme suspicion with anger, but he was saying like, no, I'm angry a lot.
Yeah.
But I use it and I channel it and I walk for a long time and I think and I plan and I strategize and I take that energy and I put it to something useful, but I don't deny it, because when there's injustice going on, anger is a righteous response. How do we deal with these emotions and have the discipline to say, all right, instead of me just going off on TikTok, let me find a way, what's going on in my community where I can take a step and go to a meeting like I did today. Right? And say like, oh, yeah, I'm pissed, but I'm gonna get around some other people and we're gonna figure out how I can build relationships.
Bro, that's so good.
And do something that is gonna help actually rectify the situation, right? Instead of just being pissed and scrolling. And it's okay. Like people always say like doom scrolling and being upset, but I don't think it's all bad, right? Like understanding what's going on and recognizing like being angry and seeing what's happening on your timeline is a human response, but it's a matter of what do you do with that frustration and anger? Can you put the phone down and say, okay, let me write, let me go out into the world, let me call somebody, let me do something, right? And not just react out of that emotion.
And it doesn't mean you have to be fake nice to everybody or pretend like everybody's good. You have to be able to properly identify the op. Who is the op?
Right.
Who is the civilian? Who is collateral damage? And who is the op? It's like, it's so easy to get mad at, Trump bombing Venezuela, which we should be, right? Because, they took out military sites, but I saw they also killed like 40 civilians.
Yes, or more, I think.
Also, you have like Barack Obama, drone striking weddings. I looked it up. Barack Obama is responsible for greenlighting hundreds of drone strikes that killed children. And we call these murders collateral damage. That's the language we use for these murders so that we don't have to confront it and deal with it. But, here's the thing. You know what they were not doing? Is they were not willing to have discipline in making sure that they took out their op and had as little collateral damage as possible. And we have to do the same thing in our words. So we're about to watch a clip that you're about to intro from JD Vance.
Yes.
He's talking. He's the op.
Absolutely.
You want to speak truth to power?
Yes.
I will flame JD Vance to pieces.
Absolutely.
But I have to do it in a way, I should aim rather to do it in a way that makes people who might be inclined to agree with JD Vance, instead of feeling shame themselves, to feel like, oh, maybe I should distance myself from JD Vance.
That's a good point.
And that's hard to do. You're not always going to be like, I'm not saying you got to be perfect every time you open your mouth.
Right.
But like, that should be the goal.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And on that note, yeah, let's get into this clip. So I think probably the biggest news that's happened in our world this week is in Minneapolis. There's been an increase in ICE officers that have come into the city. There's been a whole lot of bullshit that's been happening around quote unquote fraud that's happened with the Somalian immigrant community. And I think Trump is kind of targeting the area for multiple reasons, right? But there's been an influx of ICE officers in the city. And there was a woman who was shot and killed by an ICE officer earlier this week. And immediately after it happened, you had Kristi Noem, you had JD Vance, you had Donald Trump rushing to judgment and characterizing the situation in a way that didn't align with the evidence. And in this case, unlike some of the others that have happened, there was video footage that was available on the internet immediately to contradict what they were saying. So I'm not going to get into the details of the video, into the video of what actually happened on the scene.
Right.
Because I think it's plain to see, right? Like you can watch that and come to your own conclusion. I think it's pretty obvious what happened there. But I think we're going to talk about the reaction and kind of the larger implications of what happened. So let's play a clip.
She tried to run somebody over with her car, and the guy defended himself when that happened. Next question.
The investigation is still ongoing.
I said next question.
If you listen to the Vice President's press conference, you can see some key truths that should be known to all Americans, in that one, they are actively lying to all of us. They are claiming that Renee Nicole Good was some sort of radical far leftist who ran into an ICE agent. However, if you watch the video for yourself, or you can see this breakdown by the New York Times, you can see that she was most likely almost 99% trying to get away, or she was simply just confused by what was going on. This is highlighted by Good waving people to pass her, which is a common American custom, and one car did pass her, and another car that she waved forward, a silver truck, stopped because ICE agents exited before she was shot. Another highlight is the fact that the direction of her tires do not indicate any intent for her to actually run over someone. She was merely simply trying to get away. Under no circumstances, however, does this justify her being shot. Vance is also rationalizing this and attempting to dehumanize Good by claiming that she was a radical leftist. Being a radical leftist is not a crime in the United States. We have freedom of speech and a freedom of assembly. It's also important to note that this is so much more farcical than it was last year. Last year, the argument was that Trump was going to fund ICE so that we could go after the violent criminals and stop the problem of illegal immigration. Now, they are justifying attacks on people claiming that they are leftists. You also have every right to, and you honestly should feel insulted by the way that Vance goes out of his way to overly humanize and rationalize the actions of Jonathan Ross, the ICE agent who shot Renee Nicole Good, by claiming that he was going through some sort of psychological trauma, or the repeat of psychological trauma. That is a very serious problem, and that maybe should disqualify you from service that requires you to carry a firearm. This is the latest of JD Vance defending things such as war crimes regarding Venezuela, pedophilia regarding the Epstein files, and many other things that he's done in order to seek power for himself. But the important thing to understand is that Congress isn't really doing anything to stop Trump from acting in his capacity.
Okay, so we'll stop it there. I think, man, I felt a lot of anger this week.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that is the most frustrating, one of the things that's extremely frustrating to me that he calls out in this video, is that JD Vance is unabashedly lying to our face as if we are stupid.
Yeah.
And there are people who I think have gotten into this mode where everything is so hyper normalized that even in the face of a blatant, bold-faced lie, they will still find a way to rationalize what happened and normalize what happened.
Yeah.
And so it's alarming to me that something that was clear and obvious, in that this woman was not attempting to murder or run over an ICE officer.
Right.
It was obvious that the ICE officers were escalating the situation with her.
Right.
It was obvious that the ICE officer could have stepped out of the way, because he did step out of the way.
Yeah, he did. Not only did he step out of the way, he stepped out of the way, pulled out his gun, and shot her in the face 3 times.
Shot her in the face as he stepped out of the way.
Yeah.
Right. So it's obvious, like, we don't have to break that down because it's obvious to anybody with a set of eyeballs. But because now this has been normalized, we live in a nation where our leaders have become post-truth leaders, where it doesn't matter what actually happened. They will determine the truth by what they say. Donald Trump said that she was a radical, crazed lunatic or whatever he said, who actually ran over him, who caused him to be in the hospital.
They said he was in the hospital.
He was lucky to be alive, right? The most blatant lies.
Yo, it's
how
crazy.
We accepted that the president of the United States can get up in line. And I remember.
We saw the video, dog.
And I remember in 2016, and this is my call up for people who I had conversations with almost 10 years ago now, who told me that they don't like the way Donald Trump acts, but they like his policies. 10 years later, the implication is the way he acts is now the way he leads. It's the way our country is run. It's not just a matter of, well, we don't like that he's a little rough around the edges. We don't like the way he talks. That is a reflection of the nation that we have become over the past 10 years. It's not all just because of him, obviously. There's root causes, there's things that have happened, but it's just a reminder I'm going to ask people, if you were a supporter of Donald Trump in 2016 and you made an excuse that you didn't like the way he talks, here we are 10 years later, and he is lying about things that are as obvious as what happened in Minnesota. He's lying about what happened in the case of Ilmar Abrego Garcia.
Yeah.
He's lying.
He's playing in your face.
He's having judges lie in court. He's having he's having the DOJ lie to judges in court.
Yes.
The entirety of our democratic institutions are being eroded because of a man's character that you allegedly don't like. So I just want to say that from the outset, like over the course of the past 10 years, we've seen our country destroyed by a lot of Christians who have supported a man who they said, I don't necessarily like the way he acts, but I like that he's okay with abortion. And I would ask you, was abortion worth this? Right? Like, is your egg prices allegedly coming down worth the destruction of our nation? Because that's what we're dealing with right now. We're not dealing with whether or not this officer may or may not have, in the moment, could he have rationally thought that she was going to run? That doesn't matter. What matters is this nation is on the brink of collapse, and there's people who want to rationalize
how fast they get on and lie.
Right. They'll just lie and they'll rationalize, and it doesn't matter. And our nation is on the line.
Bro, there's actually a clip going around that a lot of right-wing media people have shared that shows it from a different angle. It's an AI-generated clip.
Oh, that was AI-generated? Oh, my fucking God.
Yeah. Because in the video, he doesn't ever pull his gun.
That's right. Yeah, you just see him getting
There's never a gun in his hand.
That's fucking nuts.
Yeah, it's completely AI-generated.
I didn't even know that.
Right. And it's just like, but I think a lot of people would say that, your first question, to be real with you, it's worth it for abortion.
Wow. I'm speechless.
I think they would say that. And I think that's because they think, and this is kind of off topic a little bit, to them, they see, because I know a lot of people that I think that justified their support initially for Trump based on 100% abortion. We literally clear-eyed, even saying I don't think Trump cares that much about abortion, but he will appoint right-wing judges and they will overturn Roe v. Wade.
And they did.
And to them, every abortion is a dead child. So they're seeing it and they're going I'll take a dead Renee Good to save, 100,000 or 1 million dead babies. Yeah. And it's just funny because it just shows they don't understand their Bible. They don't take their Bible seriously. They don't read their Bible, because if you read the Bible, anything the Bible is actually pro-abortion. The Bible definitely treats human life as beginning at first breath very, very clearly.
You gotta break that down on the TikTok, because I haven't heard that argument.
Yeah, I'll break it down.
Yeah.
Life begins in the Bible at first breath, and even in the womb, there's in the Old Testament, when it lays out the different prescriptions for violating certain crimes and different things, you can see how there are different systems of justice under Talianic law, Talianic justice, that treat life and property differently.
Sure.
So, for example, there's passages that talk about if a pregnant woman is struck and she's killed, the punishment is like the punishment for murder. But if she's struck and she survives, but the baby dies, the punishment that's prescribed is the punishment for property destruction.
Yeah.
And so there's really, you can try to be well, before he knew me in my mother's eyes, he knew every hair on my head.
Argument.
But it doesn't do anything to deal with the fact that if it's talking about people who are breathing, not people who aren't, right? So but anyways, they don't care about what the Bible says. They don't care about any of that. But they have been sold a bill. And so I know so many people that have just been talked to by pastors, and I know this because I used to be one of them. That used to make sense to me. Yeah, I'd sacrifice one Renee Good to save 1 million dead babies, but this whole life begins at conception thing is not a biblical concept.
Absolutely not.
Anyways, that's just sidetracked.
Sure.
But yeah, bro, it's like crazy because we all see the video.
Yep.
And, I have people that watch it. I'm looking at Facebook. I'm seeing cousins, post, right? Like about how, she got, that's what happens if you like get in front of a cop. No.
It's not what happens.
The options between resisting arrest and not resisting arrest are not either like get arrested or die.
Absolutely.
You're not allowed to just kill people in this country.
Yeah. I saw a montage on TikTok of police confronting people in vehicles and they all were moving out the way.
Right.
So this is not a normal thing, right? Like, come on.
And I know that this guy has been involved, like he was, his arm was in a car and then the guy took off, so he got dragged. And so
he reached his arm in the damn car.
And so JD Vance is like, he's got PTSD, and it's like, hey, that is a possible explanation for why he acted that way. That is not an excuse for why he acted this way.
For it. Absolutely.
Because you do not put people out there with PTSD with guns in their hands going and dealing it with the public. They can't act, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have an uncle who was a federal officer in Canada, and there was a gunman that was going around shooting federal police in Canada. We call them Mounties, right? He's RCMP, Royal Canadian Mounted Police. His partner was shot. And then he was a part of the crew that brought the guy in. It was a sniper targeting police.
Wow.
He had such bad PTSD after that, that like, he's still RCMP, but he had to like take a step back. His whole life changed. Yeah. He'd moved to a different part of the country. He's like in a lot of ways, a different person. You know what I mean? He can't be walking around with a gun, interacting with the public, stopping them. Come on, it's crazy. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And they don't care about the ICE officers either, right? Like I honestly don't care about them, but the people who are claiming that you have absolute immunity, we support you, we love you. These are the things that the administration is saying about the ICE officers. They don't care about them. Yeah. They will give them a less than $50,000 salary. They will put them in harm's way without training. They are using them as basically provocateurs, right? Because ultimately what Donald Trump wants in Minnesota, because even after this happened, he said, I'm sending more troops to Minneapolis. He wants to provoke a response so that he can claim martial law and shut down the city, shut down the country, and consolidate power. That's the end game of all this stuff. Right. So he doesn't care about the ICE officers. He's clearly trying to provoke the citizens. And so when you hear like, oh, we support our law enforcement, we support them. If you support them, you should give them, well, okay, so I'm going to say this, but I'm going to say this beforehand. Abolish ICE. I don't think ICE should exist. I don't think ICE should be a thing. It's not the police. It's not the military. ICE should not exist. But if you're somebody that supports ICE, you should want them to have proper training. You should want them to have proper background checks. You should want people who are physically fit and trained to be in these positions. And you shouldn't want them to be doing things that they are not supposed to be doing, like stopping people in the middle of the street, like dealing with crowd control. Like you shouldn't be putting them in these positions, but they don't care about them. And so that's what they're doing.
You were just talking about, like, they're hiring people, literally, you guys can look this up. They're hiring people who are illiterate.
Yes.
They can't read or write. They're like addicted to drugs. They're out of shape. They're alcoholics. They're fucked up in every aspect of their life. These are desperate individuals,
because who would want to go around rounding up citizens knowing that you're going to be harassed and harmed because everybody hates you,
bro?
That's the job that people hate the most in the country. So what type of person would sign up for it? Either you're a Nazi, you're a racist. You've seen people with the Nazi tattoos that are ICE agents. Yes. You're either an evil person or you're a person that has no other options.
Yeah. And how do you even become one of those people? Honestly, like, all of those kinds of ideologies are based out of resentment, are built out of resentment. Yeah. And when you have a society where the average person is absolutely like their prospects in life are completely annihilated. Yep. And I'm going to be real to you too. Like, this isn't to say like, oh, poor white guys, like poor me, poor blah, 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 blah. But like when you live in a society that does two things simultaneously, it tells you, because you're a straight white guy, or a straight guy, or whatever it is, you have all these systems of privilege. Like, you're supposed to be running the world. Everything's supposed to be easy for you. You're supposed to have everything, like, you know what I mean? Just, no one's saying that's exactly like that, but they're saying things that make it feel implicitly like that's the implication. Right. But you simultaneously live in a world that's pushing that message on you, and then simultaneously destroying every avenue for you to be able to make enough money to ever support yourself and a family, to be able to get a college education without going hundreds of thousands of dollars into debt. That if you don't have a background or support a family that can help you financially, you're never going to be able to get back up on your feet.
Yeah. All
these ICE officers are the dregs of society. Yeah. They are the wretched of the earth in many ways, right?
No, that's real.
And so, of course, who is able to target that rage? Who is able to target that that pure animosity and kind of like nihilistic, fervor and hatred that's really a projection. It's splitting and projecting onto other people. Whoever can, direct that, like those people's energy should be directed against the very people that's directing it against the scapegoats of
that's
immigrants.
Exactly right. Yeah. Yeah. There's so many things that we could talk about related to this. Another thing that I've thought about as well is that we are in a moment where if we don't find a way to get folks, like you were saying, who are in these predominantly white, poor communities to turn their gaze away from the immigrants and towards the capitalists, I don't see a way out of this downward spiral that we're in. And it's hard, and we were discussing this earlier, because for myself, I don't have a lot of people in my life that are Donald Trump supporters or are in this position, especially not now. There's a period of time where there was people that I was around that had that, but I don't have that anymore. So it's a bit harder for me to put myself in a position to have empathy for these individuals. But as we were talking about in the DSA meeting, it's easy to look and say, oh, well, if my family voted for Donald Trump, I'm never going to talk to them again. But you have to understand that we're in such a moment that if we don't get those people on our side, we are doomed.
Yeah.
Because these are the workers who are also in a position that has their boot under the neck of capitalism.
Yeah.
Right. So if they don't wake up,
their neck under the boot of capitalism.
That's what I meant to say. Yeah. If we don't get them on our side, then we're ultimately going to be fucked.
Yeah. These are the workers that are supposed to do the revolution.
Exactly.
Y'all be like, I ain't never talking to these motherfuckers again.
And the other option is we're going to have a civil war in this nation.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at. Right. I don't see another way out of this. Right. Because we can talk about we're going to have
civil unrest,
have a revolution. Yeah. It may not be civil war. We're going to be fighting against each other because like in Iran, you see what's happening with their economy has kind of collapsed and they're kind of having an uprising. And I don't know enough about what's going on to say for sure what it actually looks like on the ground. But if we were to have a situation where we have an economic collapse and civil unrest, I don't see a level of organization and class consciousness now where we will be able to have a true revolution against the capitalist class. We would just be fighting against one another because we have white folks that are hating immigrants and black folks who rightfully also are feeling protective of our communities because of the racist white people who are going to be weaponized against us. And so we would just have the working class fighting against one another and then the boot of martial law coming down on us. Right. I don't see a way out of that right now. Right. I think that's where we're headed.
Yep. No, yeah, I completely agree. Like, you have to be able to see. It's so hard, and when I'm saying you have to be able to, I'm telling myself because I'm not. I don't have this figured out at all. Yeah. But like, it is hard to figure out what is this not balance, but what is this? What capacity do I need to be able to hold people to account? Mm-hmm. Identify who the actual op is, and be able to speak to other people strategically, persuasively.
Yeah, I don't know. that is a hard thing to balance. I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard.
All right, so next clip we've got the world famous Christian hip hopper Lecrae.
Who?
Lecrae Moore. You never heard of him?
Lecrae Moore?
Jesus Music.
Riding with my top down, listen to my Jesus music?
Yeah.
That Lecrae?
That came out 20 years ago. Do you know that?
Stop.
20 years ago.
You make me feel so
I'm feeling old too.
No.
2006.
No. That was 20 years ago?
20 years ago.
No. 2006 was not 20 years ago.
2026, my guy.
Yo, can we rap? I need to go to bed.
You have a funny story with Lecrae though, right?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't want to tell it.
Okay. We will tell it. All right. But so this clip I came across on Instagram where Lecrae was being interviewed and he talks a little bit about kind of the way he views his Christian faith and kind of when people try to debate him and talk to him about Christianity, kind of his perspective on that. So I thought it'd be interesting for us as two people who don't see Christianity the way he does anymore to kind of react to it. So, all
right, let's
play it.
People stand on street corners and they proselytize and they stress what they believe. More power to you. I'm not gonna be able to convince everybody intellectually of what I believe. But I had an existential experience that nobody can argue with. You know what I'm saying? I had an encounter with God. I can't prove that to you. You gonna either have to experience it yourself or just, you know what I'm saying, just keep hanging around me to see. There's no way you could trick me out of this. There's no way you could debate me out of this. Like it's almost like convincing me that I'm not a human being. It's like, nah, there's nothing you're gonna be able to say to me. So, and also have a relationship with God. It's not a religion. And a lot of faiths are about religion. Christianity is not. It's about relationship at its essence. Maybe not what we see in America, but it's about understanding none of us are good enough to grab the hand of God, so God got to reach down and pull us up. And so for me, you can't trick me out of my spot. You know what I'm saying? It's just, you can't debate me out of that.
Okay, so I certainly don't agree with anything he just said there, but I want to say this first. Lecrae is somebody that, on a human level, I really like.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah,
Lecrae is a genuine guy. I followed him for 20 years almost.
Yeah.
I've seen him go through specifically in evangelical spaces, navigating, trying to be a black hip hop artist in white spaces and kind of breaking out of that and going through his own sort of deconstruction journey and having a lot of unfair critiques of the moves that he was making in his career and in his life. And I feel like he's navigated that with a level of humility and honesty that not a lot of people with his notoriety would do. So I want to say that before we critique, because I do, like, some people get up here and talk about it and I'm like, I don't really rock with him. But I do, like, genuinely respect Lecrae, even though I have deep disagreements with his theology now.
I agree. And listen, before I flame him, I just want to say, hey, Lecrae, bro, I would love to collab with you. I would love to have you on the pod.
Absolutely.
If you just want to get together, hang out off camera, and let me be your buddy, you're cool.
And this is not glaze. We not glazing.
No, I've been looking up to Lecrae since I was a wee lad.
Yeah, I have friends that had that 116 tattoo. I never did that.
Yeah.
But
I got friends with the 116 tattoo. I was 116 clicking it up, dude. Yeah, 116 click.
And I have friends that didn't like Lecrae, and I was trying to go to bat for him. So.
Wow, they didn't like Lecrae.
Oh, they thought he couldn't rap. And there was a period of time where I could see why they were saying that, but I've seen his progression in his rapping over the
years. Bro, this is so funny. It's like the anniversary today, yesterday, or the day before. It's like the anniversary of Jesus music dropping because I saw a video and they were showing the music video from it.
Yeah.
I'm like, yo.
I was remembering, I mean, at that point, when I first got hip to it, it wasn't 2006, it was probably like 2009. But I was like, man, I can't wait to drive so I could drive around like them and listen to
my
that
Jesus
song.
music. Bro, I'm gonna put a picture right up here for y'all to see. It just reminded me how we used to dress back in 06, 07. The way they were dressed, bro.
My God.
And when that song came out, right around that time, I moved to Dallas, Texas. I was
you were right there with them.
Yeah. So but I was from Philly, grew up in North Philly, and I grew up in in North Philly, in like one of the like most hood parts of Philly.
Yeah.
And so when I showed up to Dallas, everything I wore was like academics, Rockaware, South Pole Echo. You know what I mean? Yeah. I would not wear FUBU because I wasn't dumb. I would get beat up. No, people
it was before my time.
People were rocking FUBU when I was like a couple years younger, but I would have got beat up as a white kid for wearing FUBU.
Oh yeah,
easily. Okay. I could wear anything else, Sean John, everything, but they're like, "What are you doing wearing FUBU?" Yeah. Anyways, like when I showed up to school in Texas, they were like, "Yo, what are you doing?" They called me the W word. Bro, I don't even know if I can say the W.
No, you can't. I wouldn't say it.
And they would call me that, and I'd be like, what are you talking about? They're like, why are you trying so hard to dress and talk like this? I'm like, they didn't understand. The mall I went to didn't have an American Eagle.
Yeah.
We didn't have, we had City Blues. Yeah. You know what I mean? We didn't have like a Abercrombie and Fitch at my mall. But watching the Jesus music video had me like, deep in my memory.
My jeans got a little baggy shorts, but I think I was too young to like fully embrace that aesthetic. I got a little bit, but I was like middle school.
I was doing it all the way.
So we didn't get that far.
I was doing it. In fact, bro, I was just shopping. I'm about to buy a pair of, because I feel like this is kind of coming back in.
It is. I have a couple jeans.
But specifically, I want to get the the Velcro gerbos.
Okay, yeah, those
Remember
are bad.
the gerbos with the Velcro?
Those are coming back.
It's hard to find because they haven't remade them.
Yeah.
So you have to buy them vintage.
Okay.
And so I've been trying to find like a specific pair. So if you got anybody out there got like some vintage gerbos, put them up, let me know.
Yeah.
I want to buy them. And I'm joking. We're not about to flame Lecrae. We're just about to disagree with him.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
No flaming.
No flaming. But
last segment we were flaming, but this is just a critique.
Yeah, he's not op, but like I understand what Lecrae is saying when he says that nothing you can say can persuade him otherwise because he's had an experience. But you know who else would say that? My cousin Jimmy would definitely tell you, right, that it doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with his schizophrenia diagnosis.
Right.
That the FBI is communicating with him through Mario Kart, and there's nothing you can say.
Yes, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
Right. So you can look at it from that perspective. You can look at it from the perspective of the fact that there's been plenty of people throughout the history of humanity who have had very significant and persuasive spiritual experiences and come to different theological conclusions. Because I think that's the thing a lot of people forget is like, because you had a spiritual experience does not mean that your theological conclusions must be valid. And we can't have an argument about that. Because even Lecrae, I think he would say, to someone who had a spiritual experience and was a Muslim, he wouldn't say that that person's religion is true because of that experience. So what do you say then? Like, are you just at an impasse? We can't dialogue with each other because you had a different experience than me. He doesn't believe that.
Yes.
Ultimately. So at the end of the day, I just want to point out to Lecrae and people who think like that, because I don't think I ever thought that my experience trumped all. I always was kind of like, nah, you kind of have to do a little bit more than that. You kind of have to have an argument for why you believe. Maybe I lean too much to that side of things. But I do think there's something that has to be said for the objective reality that has to live outside of your subjective experience. Doesn't mean that your experience is invalid. It just means that the conclusions and the meaning that you draw from that experience has to be scrutinized. And we have to have a dialogue about that if we're going to have some sort of even religion, right? Like, because Christians have a variety of religious experiences as well. I think I mentioned this a few episodes ago. There's Catholics who had spiritual experiences of seeing the Mother Mary, right? In Egypt. Lecrae is not a Catholic, but they had a spiritual experience.
What are you going to do? Deny it?
Yeah, you're going to deny it. You can't debate them out of that. They saw it with their own two eyes. People took pictures of it.
Right.
So we have to have more.
Yeah. And non-religious, like I joking about, the schizophrenia thing with the FBI speaking through thing, like people have unexplainable experiences. Absolutely. They have visions. They have all kinds of stuff.
Take magic mushrooms and they see all type of shit.
Yeah. I was much more like confident in my atheism before I did shrooms. And I didn't come out of my experience of doing shrooms being like, oh, I believe in God again. But I came out being like, maybe there's something more going on here. Yeah. The problem is when you try to layer over your already predetermined worldview onto a mystical or ecstatic or spiritual, whatever you want to call it, experience. Right. Because maybe he had the experiences he had. What if it was like a malevolent being tricking him?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, your experience means almost nothing divorced from our capacity to understand logic.
Yes. Yeah. And that's a good point. And I don't hear a lot of people talk about that. And I've thought about that too. Like, what if I had an experience and God is evil and he's tricking me into believing something false because he's messing with me and he wants to put me in this position.
They use it in reverse all the time. Yeah. Like,
that's right.
Like, well, the devil comes as an angel of light. That's exactly right. It's like, all right, well, what if he came to you as an angel of light, bitch?
And that's the thing I thought about as I was leaving, because people would believe in Christianity, because people would say, well, if somebody else has a spiritual experience, it's demons.
Right.
And I would say, well, how do we know yours ain't demons?
Yours is demons. Matter of fact, I saw the demons, bro. It's cool. By the time I was getting toward the end of Oral Roberts University, I went to this extremely charismatic kind of Pentecostal type Christian school, and like everything was laced and covered with spiritual language and discussion. Yeah. And like, it would just get to the point where like people are telling you like that they believe this because God told them X, Y, or Z. And I just got to the point where I'm like, that's crazy because God told me the exact opposite.
Big troll job for you. What do they say?
Well, what do you mean? I'm like, what did you say? They would say it again. I'm like, he told me the opposite of that. And he told me that you were going to tell me that God told you that. And he told me to tell you that was the enemy.
Brain broken?
Nah, they just like, basically would just call bullshit on me right away, which just demonstrates how empty and vacuous their entire point is.
Yeah.
Because if I did that to them, they'd be like, "Oh, well, you can't just invalidate my experience.
Yeah.
You can't validate my experience."
Yeah, and that's
called the God card.
Yeah, and that's where even some of as I think back on my time in Christianity, some of the more cessationist camps or folks that were more looking down upon charismatic movements. I never was really one of them because I grew up in communities that champion spiritual experiences, but they would say people run wild and have theological anarchy almost because of the way that this man heard from God or this man heard from God. I remember this was probably when I was like 16, 17. There was a group called the Prophecy Club. And this is a very small niche. Nobody probably heard of it, and for good reason, right? I think it's still
amazing,
a movement. And I do not look it up. Some of the most terrible conspiracy theory shit. But anyways, the premise of it was this guy in Oklahoma had quote unquote prophets that would come, and he would make like 2.5-hour DVDs of them giving their prophecy about what was going to happen in the nation. And week after week, he would have these people on. But if you listened, after like 4 weeks, he would have somebody on that contradicted the person that had a vision from Jesus 4 weeks ago. And then 3 weeks later, somebody else would say, God told me that Obama's going to be president. And then somebody else 2 weeks later say, God told me Mitt Romney's going to be president.
Yeah.
So I'm like, wait, which one was right? If y'all both heard from God, you both had angels come and speak to you in your bedside, right? He's just making DVDs, right? Because God told me that doesn't trump, right, objective logic, like we have to be able to communicate and have a discussion about what does this mean? What is the implications of it? What could it mean, right? Yep. And so I would say for people that are in Lecrae's position, it may give you some blockers and some shielding to not allow you to engage with some of the critiques of your faith to say that you can't debate me out of this. Mm-hmm. But how do you ever convince someone else who doesn't believe what you believe? Right. If you're supposed to be evangelizing, that's a very bad faith way of evangelizing with people. If you're coming from the position of, you can't debate me out of this, but I'm going to try to debate you out of what you believe.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Doesn't make sense.
Yeah. At least my favorite thing about the cessationist type crew, though, is it's easier to beat them because with the charismatic folk, you got to beat the eisegesis out of them, and then you got to tell them that their experience don't mean shit. with the other people, they don't believe in the gifts of the Spirit, cessationists, you just got to beat their eisegesis out of them. I'm gonna beat your eisegesis. That's it. That's all you got to do.
Easier said than done, my friend.
I don't know. Easier said than done if you don't know how to do it. You know what I mean? Like for you and me, probably easier to do.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But a lot of people don't have enough understanding. Fair. And also, some people, it doesn't matter what you tell them.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'm not going to persuade them.
Yeah.
But I can walk away in confidence.
Right. Absolutely.
You know what, bro? You just did something really interesting right there. You just made me realize something. The goal that a lot of people have in these kinds of conversations is different. A lot of people's goal is to persuade the other person.
Yeah.
Almost always for me, I'm trying to persuade myself. So like I view victory not as whether or not I change their mind, but whether or not I walk away feeling confident in what I believe. Either way. So like if I change my mind, I feel like I was successful in the debate.
See, I think about that as like a secondary thing. Like, back in the day, right? At this point, I would want to change somebody's mind, but I would try to assess going into it, right? Like, is this a person that I can actually learn something from? And if so, then yeah. But if this is a person that I'm like, they don't know anything and I'm trying to get them to see something that they very clearly don't see, then if they don't move, then I'm like, I failed.
Oh, no, but even in that situation, I feel confident because I feel like, like I identified another argument that helps me affirm.
That's a good way of thinking about it. Yeah, that's a good way of thinking about it.
Yeah, either way, I win.
Yeah, I feel like I lost.
Yeah. I took Ricky Bobby to heart.
Yeah.
Whether you're first or, if you're not first, you're last. So it's like, I have to find a way to be first every time.
Yeah. I feel like you always drop little things and I don't catch them, but I caught that one.
All right, so the next video is one of my favorite creators on Instagram and TikTok, Connie Chen. She's a MDiv from Harvard. That's for those of you that don't know, that's a Master's of Divinity from Harvard, which is crazy. Which, by the way, I'm going to be at Harvard all week this week at the business school, doing a thing. Yeah, I'm pumped about it. But so I'm just getting like a little certificate. She got a Master's of Divinity from Harvard. And so she also is like fire with the edit. editing, incredible content. And so if you're not following Connie.Chen, then you should definitely do. I think that's how she says it, Connie.Chen on Instagram and YouTube. And so this video specifically, she's talking about for those of you who are in the process of going through or have been through the process of deconstruction, which if you watch my content, you know how I feel about that word. I don't think it's the best word, but whatever. We all know what it means. Deconstruction. What about friendships and family members that aren't deconstructing? How do you navigate that? And so I thought this was a really good clip. Let's see what Connie has said.
Cool.
Today's comment is about friendships, friends who have not yet deconstructed. What do we do? This is one of the most painful parts of deconstruction. Deconstruction doesn't just change your theology, it changes how you know, what you trust is authoritative, and how you evaluate the truth. You're not just disagreeing about biblical claims. You might be operating from fundamentally different ways to understand reality. And the grief is you can't go back to where you were. You can't unknow the manipulation tactics. You can't pretend harmful theology isn't just because it would make dinner conversations so much easier. The distance that you're feeling isn't necessarily loving them less. For me, there was significant cognitive dissonance caring deeply for people when you know that they are participating in something that is harmful to them as well. The thing that you shouldn't have to choose from is intellectual honesty and love. It was really helpful for me to realize and readjust my expectations of what needs these friendships will be meeting from now on. When friendships are built on shared worldviews and that worldview shatters, the friendship might not survive. And that is okay. It's grief, but it is not a failure of taking a risk to love. Other friendships have different roots that isn't ideology, and those might be able to evolve beyond what they used to be. It is really hard after leaving the church to really practice boundaries in your love. It is genuinely kind of difficult to understand that you can love someone and not have them validate your deconstruction because your entire experience was based on sharing the same views of the world. So what does love mean when that part is missing? And sometimes the gift for both you and them is to learn to be able to hold the space for both the love and the new distance. The friends who will stay may either deconstruct alongside you or do so on their own timeline. But the ones who can't, you know this already, but trying to shrink yourself back into conformity to maintain those connections will destroy you faster than the grief of losing them. Stop trying to bridge the gap by minimizing what you now understand. Get curious about what these friendships can be in this new framework. The worst thing you can do is to perform certainty that you don't feel, or pretend that you don't see what you see to avoid discomfort. The friendships that are meant to survive will find a way. I'm Connie Chen. I teach a class called Faith Deconstruction 101, Leaving the Church Without Losing Yourself. I also run a Patreon community where we are deconstructing and reconstructing women in the Bible. Drop your deconstruction questions in the comments and I will get to as many as I can.
Cool. That's good. What do you think?
Man, I think it was really good. I think back on my deconstruction journey, and I was thinking about this as I was watching. I feel like I am in a privileged position in that because I kind of went through a longer period of questioning, I started to kind of very subtly suss out who I could trust from earlier on. So it didn't feel like a complete rupture when I fully walked away from Christianity. So what I mean is, even when I was working with crew, I was kind of questioning things, and there was a group of people who were still Christians, but were questioning and honestly, a lot of it had to do with race and politics, who were questioning and already had kind of a more left-leaning political stance. And so I feel like I started to feel like, who can I trust? Right. And so there were certain people who I kind of gravitated towards, and my relationship started to kind of go in that direction. And so I felt like as I was continuing to have questions over the course of the next probably 5 to 7 years and eventually leaving, I kind of shielded myself from people who would have maybe not accepted where I landed at the end of the day as a non-Christian. I wanted to try to figure out, who can I be in relationship with where this high control religion isn't the only thing that we have in common. In our shared humanity, we have other values other than just, I believe the same thing as you.
Yeah.
Right? Do I actually like being around you?
Yeah.
Do I actually do we have things that we enjoy talking about? Do I like your energy? These are things that I feel like I started to kind of figure out. And so, because I was thinking about this when I watched the video the first time, I was like, I don't feel like there was a lot of people that I just lost contact with. Some relationships faded, but I didn't feel like I had this huge rupture. Now, the church that I was in at the time, I do feel like that was a rupture.
Yeah.
But the problem, the difficulty with that was that I was in a very different space when I entered the church than the church was in. Like, I feel like the church was, and this is going to be a small tangent, but I was listening to like some of the early Christian hip hop, like the Triple E, Lecrae, recently, just thinking back on that period of time. I was 14, 15 years old, getting introduced to theology, right? So a lot of the concepts that people are learning in adulthood, I was thinking about as a teenager, right? So this church that I'm in when I'm 27, 28, and I'm on the teetering edges of Christianity, the church was kind of a startup, right? It was a new church, and people were kind of being introduced to the intro of theology. And I'm like, I've been thinking about this shit for 15 years. Yeah. So I'm kind of here helping to kind of like teach and lead and facilitate things. Yeah. But I'm on the other side, right? Like this isn't new. This ain't new for me. Yeah. And so like they're kind of trying to build up a foundation of faith. I'm kind of deconstructing. And so when we left, it was like we ain't got that much in common anyways. Like I was already kind of on my way out. And so it kind of felt like there was no real.
Bro, there's almost nobody harder to talk to that is like on their way on the come up of something that you were on your way on the come up of 10 years ago.
That's exactly.
And now you're already on the decline. Because they're seeing it all from like this glorious new perspective. Exactly. Like, how do you not see this? And you're like, yeah, I've been there.
Yep. I was trying, but I was like, I can't. I don't see it that way anymore. Yeah. That's a good way of summarizing it. But what do you think?
Yeah, and just for those that don't know, Crew, the organization you were talking about, part of is like what was Campus Crusade for Christ, like a big college movement that you worked at. Yeah, and man, this is like this is a tough one for me to think about because a lot of people ask me in my comments and DMs quite a bit. Man, with you having gone from being, because I was a conservative, right-wing Christian nationalist, Pentecostal pastor's son. Yeah. And now I'm like a Marxist, atheist, and people are like, what's your relationship like with your dad or mom? Like, when did you start? Some people, they just assume, when did you stop talking to your mom and dad? I'm like, I have a great relationship with my mom and dad. I got lucky in so many ways. Yeah. And like, even like, a lot of my friends from my Christian university were all, none of us, bro. So I was thinking about the deconstruction thing. I think one of the reasons I have so much struggle with that term, and I think I'm seeing like what the difference is between what me and a lot of my friends did, and then what a lot of people call themselves who use the term deconstruction did, even though we ended up believing similar things. Sure. We went to school to study theology. Yes. And I think what a lot of people call deconstruction is just like an internet way to say learning about your faith.
That's true.
Honestly, it's
which is an indictment on the depth of a lot of people's theological training.
It's a massive indictment on that. But what's interesting is like the framing then completely changes things. So when you have a negative frame, as what I'm doing is tearing down, destroying, and deconstructing all of these, either my own life or these systems in my life. I'm tearing them all down. I'm deconstructing, blah, blah, blah. I think that tends to leave you in a negative frame. Like you're viewing the world in opposition. Yeah. At least you're viewing these other people and other systems and other people not. Whereas like for me, I was studying theology. I came to a lot of the same positions, but I was taught it by professors who like were pastors or believed in God that like taught me, like I learned, I got out of belief in inerrancy and infallibility of the Bible and a lot of other doctrinal things that I believed in by studying theology and theology classes and reading theologians, because I went to school to get a bachelor's and a master's in church history. So reading about the theology that's happened throughout church history, I realized like, oh, the shit they taught me is just fucked up dumb shit. Yeah. And like there's actually better stuff out there.
Well, you know what you did? You went to cemetery, not seminary.
Yeah, that's what they tell you. Yeah, they'll go kill your faith. Which is crazy because I went to, a lot of people say that, right? Like, oh, like if you send your kids to like one of these liberal schools, they're going to come out. Like I got sent to the most right-wing school you can imagine. If you ever heard of Liberty, this is like Liberty, but with speaking in tongues, basically. You know what I mean?
I ain't liberal.
Yeah. And so, I went to speaking in tongues Liberty. That's what I'm going to call it from here on out, because more people are familiar with Liberty. Yeah. I went to speaking in tongues Liberty. And got these worldviews, but so many of my friends did too. But so I got lucky in that regard. But I also have a lot of friends that aren't, that are megachurch. I have friends that are megachurch pastors. One of my good friends and people that I look up to and is like a mentor in my life. He's like an OG in my life. Is this guy named Mark Arstad, who's like an editor at the American Bible Society, which is a conservative, you know what I mean, institution. He pastors churches, and him and his wife are awesome. They have great kids, and he's a Republican, but like, man, there's almost nobody in this world that I like meeting up with or getting on the phone with or sitting and have coffee with. And even though we disagree on like so many things, there's still so many other ways that we pour into each other's lives. Yeah. And, sometimes I think we were talking earlier about bringing people home or changing people's minds. I think it should not even always be aimed at changing someone's mind in a conversation, which is, I think, what makes it too hard for people to do. They're thinking like, how can I win this debate and argument now and change this person right now? What if it's just like, allowing them, because honestly, my worldview, if you can just see other people as people and genuinely see them that way, you'll be able to see through most of the smoke. Yeah. And so, I don't know. But like, I think what Connie is saying here is so valuable and so important, because you also have to categorize. There are different things. Like there are some friends, I haven't had anybody that I've like cut off, but there's a book from Darren Hardy, which is, anybody who knows Darren Hardy is, they hear me talking all this other stuff, they're like, that's like self-help business bro stuff. He has a book called The Compound Effect. But one of the things he talks about in there is about changing your associations. And this is stuff a lot of like entrepreneur bros will say, but it actually is just, this is good if you apply it to the right things. Is that you have to manage your associations in 3 different ways. Some people you need to completely terminate your association with them. They're toxic for you. They are not good for you. They're not healthy for you. Some people you need to limit your association with. There are some people you could spend 5 minutes with, but not 5 hours with. Some people you can spend 5 hours with, but not 5 days with. And you need to know that and structure your time around those people accordingly. And some people you need to expand your association with. Some people go, man, like this person can help me become the kind of person I want to be, or being around them is edifying or brings me life. Or not necessarily what I can get out of it, but like this is like a good comp. We do good together. You need to expand, and you have to be intentional about those 3 things.
That's good. I think that's something that I've kind of like slowly, intuitively learned over time. Another thing I was thinking about too is kind of like the flip side of this conversation, in that, and it reminded me, because I was actually, one of my friends from high school on Friday randomly called me. I didn't have his number. I just got a phone call. I was sitting here working, and they called me twice, and then text me and say, hey, you got a second? I was like, who is this? And he said his name, and I was like, oh shit, let me pick up the phone. And I hadn't talked to him in years. He was just calling to say, what's up? How you doing? It's been a minute. What's going on with your life? Right. And he heard that I had left religion, and he was kind of interested in religion. So he was like, I wonder what's going on with my bro. And so he called me, and it took me back to that period of time where I was starting to kind of become a Christian zealot type of person, because I wasn't always that way. Like I have, especially high school, I have friends that, weren't really trying to be Christians. And so, but there was a period of time where I started to cut them off subconsciously. Like I didn't try to, but like, oh, they're going out to drink. At first I would just go and not drink and not smoke, but then eventually I was like, I'm not going to go at all. So the relationships kind of fell apart. And so now now that I am where I am, I look back on that time and I'm like, man, these are people that I really loved and valued at that period of time. And I wish I hadn't had a religion that it didn't force me to, but it forced me to kind of see them through the lens of, I need to convert these people to be like me. And because they're not moving in my direction, I have to push myself away from them. And so I kind of look back and I'm like, man, it's the flip side of this conversation, because it's kind of like the relationships that I didn't have when I entered into like my hyper Christian phase. But it just made me think about that as I was talking to my friend the other day.
Oh, that's good. Bro, that made me think about something else too, is like, in sales, I think you can look at like what percentage of sales are made at which point of contact. It's very small, the percentage of sales that are made on first contact. Slightly bigger second contact. Slightly bigger third contact. But it's like the 8th contact, more than 50% of sales are made on the 8th contact or after. Right? And what's interesting is like, man, like salespeople have that kind of discipline. Elite level salespeople have the kind of discipline to know like, I don't have to get this person to buy right now. And that's just buying a product.
Right.
Changing your worldview, changing your perspective. Like, are we not, we can't be committed to like being in a relationship with people. Now, that being said, like I said, some people you have to cut off because like they're toxic for you, they're not good for you. But like eventually, like, man, we should get to the point where, you know what I mean? Like, you got to be able to be around the things that you work, you know what I mean? To like draw somebody along that journey.
And some people, I don't necessarily want them to be where I'm at.
No,
honestly.
Like, no, if that's fair. Yeah,
like
totally.
I recognize that the sort of Christianity that they're walking and living in,
there's so many people
like good
that.
for them, and for them to come to where I'm at wouldn't be helpful for them psychologically. And so I'm like, hey, I'm, as much as I don't agree, like our relationship may be different, and I think about some family members that are like, so I'm like, I'm not going to try to convince you because I know where you're at. This is working for you. And so hey,
but you know, there's power, like outside of those people, like there's power in a testimony. And I think like sometimes you leave the faith or you become more leftist and you stop thinking about your story as a testimony. But, you know, as my dad always said, you got to go through a test so you get your testimony. You know what I mean? And, and a lot of these people walking around with their money and they're forgetting about the test that they went through to get there. And
that's real.
Sometimes, like, just being able to share your story is powerful, man. Like, there was a time in my life, I had basically the same worldview I have now, except I was desperate. Like, I was so low. Like, I was so, like, desperate to be in a better place financially. Desperate to feel like I was proud of myself. Desperate to feel like I belonged to something, like so lonely. So like all of those things that I found myself being compelled by the testimony of people who had like a psychotic level of faith. And I literally looked at them and I was like, this person has a pathology. They are pathologized to believe that God wants them specifically to win and succeed. And that pathology is causing them to act in certain ways that's leading them to have these things. I'm going to try that out. I'm going to try it out. I tried for like a period of almost 2 years to convince myself that I believed that. I was like, really? I would rather feel like I belong somewhere, rather feel proud of myself, rather not be economically insecure. And even if it meant me believe, because, you know, at the end of the day, that's what, so I think also, like, if you always keep things at the level of like intellect only, and you don't talk about how people feel emotionally, you're dead in the water.
Absolutely. There's so much more to deconstruction. And that's one thing that deconstruction people miss is like, it's emotional. And that's a good thing. And a lot of times we frame this discussion from an evangelical lens. And I think that's why deconstruction is called deconstruction, because the evangelical Christians who are looking at people deconstructing see it as a negative thing. But a lot of times they'll say, well, you're not thinking logically, you're just emotional. Yeah, but so are you. We're all logical, emotional, instinctual beings. Like all these things come into play. Right. And so that's not a bad thing.
It reminds me in sales, there's a thing we say, right? You have to remember, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And bro, like that's why I'm gonna write that self-help book for leftists, because like we need that shit so bad.
The hyper leftists need to read that book. The online leftists need to read that book.
I'm writing it for them.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, guys, thanks for watching. Me and Josh, you know, we're having a lot of fun doing this, and we just really appreciate you. If you watch this entire thing and you're still here and you haven't yet subscribed, click that bell to get notified. If you're on Spotify, wherever you are listening, and you're rocking with us, we just want you to know we appreciate you so much, and we're going to keep on doing this because we're having a blast. Leave a comment letting us know what your favorite thing is that we talked about today, if there's something you disagreed on, something you think we left out, or something you think we need to talk about in the next episode.
Absolutely. We're almost at 1,000 subscribers, so subscribe. We'll get there hopefully by episode, we're at 9, so hopefully we'll get there by 10.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Cool.
Peace out, guys.
See ya.